episode 276 of Littleroot Lessons. To celebrate the two Italians in NAIC, we decided to have two Italians run this podcast. Yes, it's Ro and guest, well, not first time on the network, but like first time on the podcast proper, Chase Mateo, who is also now a 2-times world qualifier officially. Chase, how you feeling, buddy?
I have mixed emotions. This was a really exciting weekend. Some highlights, some lowlights. I literally just got back from Italy last weekend. I was planning to go to NAIC. My girlfriend and I weren't feeling the best on Tuesday, Wednesday, so my World's Invite was already locked, so I just was like, I'm not going to risk it, get more sick, get other people sick, yada, yada. So I didn't go, but I followed it all weekend, and yeah, so much fun to follow. Just so many huge storylines. The two all Italian final. I mean, as an Italian, I was very happy with.
Yes.
It was an awesome finals too. Like fast, but like really cool. A lot of I'm glad I went to 3 games. I'm feeling great. I'm excited. And I'm really happy that you asked me to be on the pod. So thank you so much.
Now, the reason why you don't see our usual co-hosts, Carl, who is currently driving home from NAIC, his group ended up leaving later than expected because one of his TCG buddies, day 2, and finished top 128 in TCG, which I think had like 3,000 or 4,000 people. It was absolutely obnoxious, the number of people at TCG. Like, our biggest, NAIC was our biggest VGC event, over 1,100 players. I believe it was the first time we actually had the top 5/12 kicker.
Second time. It was a little bit smaller than EUIC.
It was a little bit, okay, it ended up being smaller than UIC?
Yeah.
Okay, but still. Largest on American soil.
Yeah, only the second time that we hit top 5/12.
Yeah. And yeah, so and that still just like is a quarter of what the TCG group had to go through. And Carter's air conditioner's broken, so he's working on some other life things. But yeah, so we're excited to have you. We're excited to talk about this, and I'll give you a new co-host choice. Do you want to talk about just like the bar, how everything ended out there, or do you want to just start diving into usage stats?
Why don't we start with the bar? Because I feel like that's just really exciting to talk about right now.
Yeah, so the bar ended at 947 points. Which was, and it ended up including the auto qualifiers within the top 75, kicked it down to 83 players. For like the top, like the 83rd ranked player was where the top 75 bar was, and then we had a handful of other auto qualifiers for a total of 96 players from North America attending Worlds this year.
I thought it was 89.
Was it 80? Did you say 89? I'm going.
I'm pretty sure it's 89.
It's 89.
So we had
You're right. It is
75, and then we had 14.
89. Yeah, okay. I don't know where the 96 came from for me then.
Okay, I wasn't sure if I was wrong, but I thought it was 89.
No, I was trying to remember your number that you sent to me.
Okay, yeah, it was 89.
Okay, there we go. So yes, 89 total players. Sorry, counting's tough. That's what my math degree is for. At which, I've said this from the start when they announced the top 75 bar plus auto qualifiers, they do not want like over 100 people making Worlds. They freaked out when it was the 300 point bar back in 23. We had about 112 people or so, and they were like, nope, too high. Let's put it at 500, and then 200. What was it, like 214 or something?
I believe. I think it was 211 from.
It was the most NA players by over 100 players. And they don't. They don't want that many players at Worlds. They want it to feel difficult, feel like an accomplishment, and also space-wise, they want a smaller playing space because they're starting to expand Worlds not into this, of course, the main event is the competition, but sort of like kind of what NAIC has become to an extent, or these ICs, a Pokemon convention that also has a tournament. Specifically, they really want this for next year, which is both the 30th anniversary of Pokemon and the 20th World Championships. That's going to be a massive event, but this go around, like, they want it to be this number of people, and if the bar wasn't getting it there, they were just going to force the matter on themselves. It does suck for a lot of players. I know the worst feeling in the world this weekend. Like friend of the pod, guest on the pod, Tony T. I can't even say it. It just sucks so much. Like I feel so bad. And,
I mean, that was by far the low light of the weekend.
Yeah.
I literally was crying for a bit when it happened. Like I couldn't believe it because, yeah, I mean, Tony was my guy all year, really. I feel like he pushed me. We kind of pushed each other. We worked on a lot of teams together. So,
yeah, you two. Like,
I think one point, just to immediately start though. I don't think.
Yeah.
I just gotta say because we're not talking about Tone, but I think in general, making worlds or not making worlds doesn't make you a better player either way.
No.
I mean, a lot of it has to do with how much you can play and yada yada. But there's so many arbitrary things. So like, even though Tone didn't make worlds, like I don't think anyone should look at him as like a lesser player because
absolutely not.
Top cut 2 events. He day 2'd 5 events. Had just so many great local performances. At BP, like he clutched up even like a lot at the end of the year. He won like 2 league cups.
Yeah, he won the last day of the season. I was with him in Pawtucket, and it was a small league cup, but still, it's like I was there, Gerd was there, Adrien was there, like was it Katie was there? It was absolutely not a cakewalk.
Yeah.
And he just demolished all of us.
Yeah, and the week before that, he won the Boston Cup, which was like our last big event. Which, I have nothing but great things to say about Tone, but going back to kind of the bar, I think last year, 2024, one thing they really overlooked was how powerful locals were. That's really, I think, the only thing that broke the system last year. Like, you could get I think you get 460 for locals last year.
Yeah, last year you were able to get 480 points. Yeah, you were able to get all but 20 points from your locals, and then all you had to do is get like a top like 256 in the GC. Single GC.
Show up to one event and breathe to get some points, or something at the GC. Like, and it, there's just so much disparity too because I think to do that in New England, get like 400, like max your locals in New England was like insane. No one did that in New England.
I thought Adrien did.
Adrien maxed his PCs, but I don't think he maxed his mid seasons last year. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think he would. I think it's like if he didn't max them, it was like
really close. He probably had
1 second place or something.
Yeah, maybe 2 or 3 second places. I don't know exactly. I don't think he might have. But who knows? But
it was close.
Regardless, though, like he won tough events. Where there are so many players that there was one thing that was crazy was like I saw someone at the end of the season last year fly to a 4-person local. They went 0-3, and they got their Worlds invite.
Yeah,
because you could.
The BFL was
last year is all top 4 always got points. This year there was a kicker and only like top 2, which was a good change, I thought. But the system was. I don't want to say it was too easy to qualify last year because it really depends on so many different factors. Like it was very difficult for me to. It was my first full season, but it was incredibly difficult for me to qualify last year. On a personal note, I mean our locals were stacked, and
I think our guests, I know my co-hosts, every one of them has gets to know me. Shouting out all the New England players during events. I'm sorry that whenever we go to events, that's and so that's the thing. It's like this is the only thing stopping this from just being the New England show is the fact that we didn't have an amazing weekend. We had a few. Compared to other,
we didn't know, but we did have a top cut.
We did have exactly,
which was awesome.
Yeah, but compared to other weeks, not as strong.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I think one of the other things that you were just mentioning to me beforehand is that out of the for the players who qualified, I think actually I'm not sure about the ones that maybe got through in Worlds. There were a couple of our qualifiers who are actually seniors who top 4'd last year and aged up.
2.
Yeah. But one of the things you were saying was that there were only 3 players who qualified that didn't top cut an event this year. And compared to last year where there were stories of people like farmed their Mickey Mouse locals, and when they went and couldn't get a positive record at the regional, but since they played in an area with a lot of events and a little or barely any talent, they were able to make worlds. And I think like that's the other thing that they wanted. Like everyone who's qualified, all the people who bubbled are insanely talented as well. But pretty much everyone who got here, like they deserved it. Like if you're
100%.
top cutting an event right now, like you're doing a lot. Which also again sucks for Tony that he was able to do it twice. And I think that's kind of where like this year, if you want to talk about anything was a little weighted too much, I think the GCs might have had a little too much weight. And it's weird because you want people to have a shot at qualifying who can't go around and travel the country or other countries to get to events. You want a way for people who are maybe able to only go to like 2-3 events tops to have a shot. And if you do well in these GCs, that's where your in is. But then you have situations of not only are people going and traveling around these events and doing insanely well in these best of 3 open team sheet events, but they're also going in and playing a closed team sheet best of 1 ladder format that outside of those weekends is never played at any other level. And it's just like, I feel like those were a little too powerful, but I also don't want to make it so that the only way you go to and get an invite is via traveling these events. So it's a little bit of a weird thing. Regardless, very happy for everyone who did qualify. Congratulations for everyone who was trying. This was the most grueling season to try to qualify that we've had in a very long time.
Since like 2013. Right?
I'd say it's 13 or 14. Because I know the first year of XY, it was a 40-person bar.
But the thing I would argue this is harder than that. I mean, I wasn't playing then, so just because we have like so many more players and so many more good players. To go back on your previous point though about like there's only 3. If my math is correct, I'm pretty sure there's only 3 players from NA that qualified this year that didn't get a top cut. Last year there was probably like I would need to do the math, but like we had 211 qualifiers. There were I wouldn't want to say a good number, but like maybe couple dozen people that like did even day 2 that made worlds last year. And there were people that like did not consistently even go like 5-4. And like I think I don't know, like that. They didn't want that this year. Like I think day 2 should be like the minimum for like a good. It's all relative. Like I shouldn't like you can have a 5-3 that you can be proud of. Like it's all relative to who you are. But like in terms of like if you're trying to qualify for worlds, I think like day 2 should be like the minimum you have for like a good result that you want on your BFL.
Yeah, and of course, like the next question is, are they going to continue to do a top X, or are they going to switch back to a bar? And if they do switch back to a bar, what would it be? Or if they even change the top X? Again, I think that like right now, the number that we're at is the number that we're at for qualifiers is the number that they want people at. Maybe I think if anything, because you see TCG at it was top 125. And going into the event, into NAIC, there were people who were like going into the event in position that were around like the 750 range. And maybe for VG, it's like next year it's a top 100 at plus auto qualifiers to expand it a little more, but still keep it like at a better level. I do think if they do a bar again, it's probably going to be 900. Because I think 900 would have been like just going by the chart. I think like a little under 100 players got 900 plus points.
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons to both systems. I think I would want a bar back just because it does help plan seasons more and like give people security. Like, I mean, speaking for myself, I had 1,000 CP in February around EUIC, and I felt at the time I was like, it's kind of like a weird because it's like I'm pretty sure I'm locked, but I'm not going to say I'm locked because who knows.
You fell like 30, 40 slots
Yeah,
from
I mean,
February to now,
I was 14th, I think, in
and you finished
February,
what,
and I
55th?
finished 58th. And I
Oh
went to
yeah,
one major in between there, Bologna. I didn't do well, so I didn't get any points. So essentially, I didn't improve on my major BFLs at all since February, and I fell a lot. But I still felt very confident that I would qualify for Worlds. But it's one of those things that's like you don't really ever celebrate because you're always, I don't know, it was weird. But to go back to the original point, like what do I think's better? I think the bigger thing they need to fix is like the CP distribution. I think it was bad. I think the top 16 to top 8 there's a 120 point gap. And that means like you can win in Top Cut and then like lose your next round and miss out on like 120 points. And like, I mean, I'm biased, but like I lost 2 top 16s this year, but
yeah,
I don't like regardless of that, I don't look at this as a bias standpoint. Like we have 2 friends, Tony and Keon, who both had like magical runs. Keon 11-0 and
yeah,
then lost his first round of Top Cut and got to 160 points. And like that performance was not like worth 120 points less than a top 8 performance. Like there's no world that someone will convince me that it's not. And like the difference in a top 16 set, like you can win your top 32, play a top 16, and then like, I mean, there's so much variance in Pokemon.
yeah.
Like
It's like I think
I
like
don't complain about hacks at all. Like hacks happens, but like moving on and whatnot, it like happens. But like that one set of Pokemon right now of like Top Cut is not worth 120 points in my mind, and I think they really need to close the gap there. It made it like if you did get a top 8, like pretty broken this year, and like getting top 8 at a tournament is so hard. So like it should get like reward you a lot, but people that get top 16 should get a little bit more. That's
yeah,
like
I think the reason why they made the top 8 as much as they did, this is their first year of doing the asymmetrical top cut. Initially, it was just top 8 total. So I think they still wanted it to be where once you got back to like the normal top cut, it was more worth it. So that's my that's my thought process. Yeah, but it's not great.
No, it does. I mean, I think that's more like a TCG thing too, where like they usually have like 9 or 10 people top cut, where we're having like 20 plus. So like it's not built for a system, and it's something that like the people that are making the circuit just need to be like, okay, these are different games, they're different circuits. We don't have ties in VG, which is a big reason we have bigger cuts, and they just need to fix it. I think one added round in Swiss on day 2, and then
because
kind of improving the top 16 to top 8, making it a little bit smaller, it would go like such a long way. And I think like, yeah, if they had a bar at like 900, I think that's fine. I think they probably, I don't know what they'll do, but I also think like a top 100 system would be really great too, because I do think it was like way more exciting this year. Like,
yeah,
and I think they do
like,
want players to like push, like to. They mean they want players to push like throughout the whole season, and like I get it causes stress and whatnot, and I mean at the end of the day it is a competitive game, and Worlds isn't the end all be all. Like I've talked about it, like Worlds was not even my goal this year. Like I just wanted to, because last year was such a grind. Like I just wanted to like improve. I wanted a day 2 NIC, and I wanted to top cut some stuff, because that's like I was like, if I don't top cut an event this year, I don't deserve to be at Worlds. That was like my mindset. So like my first goal this year was like just get a top cut and then like see what happens.
You pulled that off pretty quickly.
Not too, yeah, like November. It took a few months.
Okay, yeah, but like still, like major started in September. Took you a little longer. Your pelipper had slow start.
I did. I should have started earlier.
Yeah.
Actually, I had pelipper on my team from the start. Actually, but
well, that's you're the rain guy. If I don't see you with like pelipper or Kyogre on your team, it's because
I've already been talking to like Zach and June and being like, I don't know if I'm gonna run
Kyogre at Worlds.
I don't know. Like, I mean, it's too early. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
So last, like, I think it was back in God, I want to say it was like back in like October or November when we went out and did like our Rhode Island group drinks. And you were telling me, you're like, I think I need to run a real restricted. I need to run Miraidon. I
Yeah,
can't run Kyogre.
100%.
And that
Well,
lasted 0 days.
I like, I think from April 2024 until Worlds. So like basically April, May, June, July, August, basically 5 months. I played nothing but Kyogre last
Yep.
year, and I played so much going up to Worlds. So then I was like, I'm burnt out. So then like Reg H happened, and I was like, I want to play something different. And then I like tested Arbig. I talked to Aaron Trailer about it for like so long, and I was just like, I don't think I can consistently win enough with this archetype or like get to where I want to be with it. Long story short, Stefan hit me up about Kyogre, and the rest is history.
Yeah,
Thank you, Stefan.
It worked out.
It worked out, but
Yeah.
we'll see what happens for Worlds for me. But yeah, I honestly, I've said that I wasn't my goal to make Worlds this year. It's not going to be my goal next year, so I am just excited to see what happens. I'm definitely going to be playing next year, but yeah, I still have a lot of room for improvement just at like regional level. So yeah.
So one place we sadly won't see Kyogre going into our usage. It is the restricted day 1 pairs, and we're just going to go through day 1 super quickly. Day 2 did get pretty interesting. But the restricted pairs are kind of what we expected going into the event. You had your 2 different Miraidon plus Trick Room users, your Calyrex plus Zamazenta, which was coming off a really great weekend in Europe, along with the Calyrex Koraidon, which, from what I was gathering on social media, felt like the early favorite for the event. A lot of people thought that Koraidon plus Calyrex Shadow were positioned very well going into NAIC. I wasn't on the pre-show, but if asked, like, Koraidon CSR probably was my pick. That wasn't whatever my friends were running to win. And Koraidon CSR just didn't have the weekend that we expected it to have.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think going into the event, CSR Koraidon definitely was looking really, really good. I mean, there were examples of the team in Top Cut, but no, I mean, I don't think was Gabrielle. I think Gabrielle Agati was on it in top 8.
Yes, its best finish was that top 8 with Agati.
Yeah,
Agati was
James Tevin was
also
on it. I don't think he went 9-3 actually.
So Agati was actually the only player in the top 16 with that archetype, and just going through Koraidon, you had Agati with that top 8. You had, I'm just scrolling real quick, Giovanni Cishek in top 32, but that was with Lunala. James Evans with the Koraidon in top 32, Koraidon CSR in top 32. And that's it for the top 32. Only 3 in the top 32. So while it did have that spike with Agati, overall, like looking at the top 32 teams, it didn't really perform as well, especially when you compare it to the Miraidon teams and the CSR Zama team.
Yeah, I think it's still almost a newer archetype too, where like it still kind of needs to be explored a little bit more, honestly.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I think I wouldn't say it was a terrible showing, but you're right. Yeah, definitely didn't pop up too much on any like super deadly teams.
Yep. Just quickly going through just the overall top 8, Miraidon led the restricteds with 42.1% usage, 10% more than second place Calyrex Shadow. Calyrex Ice was in third place, followed by Zama, Koraidon, Kyogre, Lunala, Terapagos. This is kind of what we expect at this point for your top 8. That bottom row, or at least these bottom 3, can be in some different order. A lot of different ways to play Kyogre. Honestly, a lot of different ways to play Terapagos. There's that new Miraidon team around. I know actually, like with the Terapagos that the Italians were using, there was a group with, it was like Ashton Cox, Bruno, a couple others. Like I think like 6 of them, like these 6 players, like day 2 together. it was a Specs Terapagos team, along with like hyper offense picks like Shiyu, CSR, and that was a really cool thing to see. We haven't really seen Specs Terapagos since early Regulation G of last year, so to see that again and have it like a handful of players day 2 with it is pretty cool. But I'd say overall this is kind of what we expect. And then going into your non-restricted choices, going into like the day 1, the top Pokemon that you see here, again, a lot of these are Pokemon that you expect to see. Grimmsnarl on about a fifth of the teams. It's been having a relatively good regulation so far. You have both Iron Hands and Raging Bolt, your Assault Vest, like Paradox special attackers. Even though like a lot of the Raging Bolt now are even just going with these offensive items and Protect with a Terra Electric. And you have the Chi-Yu, the Volcarona, which is always neat to see. And any format where Ferrograph is good is a friendly format for me.
Yeah, I think the biggest winner or the biggest standout on this page is definitely Volcarona. I think Volcarona is like insanely well positioned this year, or this format, excuse me. I'm gonna be surprised if it's not higher on day 2. But yeah, I think Volcarona just has like there's so many sets, so many items, just so it can fit onto so many different teams right now, and just it's really good into a lot. So yeah, I think Volcarona is kind of like the one on this page that I'm most impressed by.
Well, I can tell you it did, when we'll get to day 2 real quickly, but it did drop off from 13.4 to 12.3%, finishing in 11th, but it still was top in the top 12. Going through our day 2 restricted pairings, the big change is the drop off of the Lunala and Miraidon, and this new Zamazenta Koraidon being the number 4 pairing. This is something that popped up every now and again. I believe like we would see people like JoeUX9 use it, but it was never taken as seriously as the Miraidon plus like Trick Room restricted duos. So to see that as the 4th most used pairing, pretty surprising.
Yeah, I think going into this event, it definitely seemed on the rise. I'm not too surprised to see it in 4th place. I think Koraidon, or not Koraidon, Zamazenta King, honestly, I feel like you can make it work almost on any other restricted, it feels like.
Pretty much.
I feel like not necessarily that it's the best partner for every restricted, but I feel like it can work. And if you like want to play a certain play style, it can maybe bring it out on us with another certain restricted. Like we saw it do well on some Kyogre teams, Rhydon teams, obviously, on CSR. So just yeah, I think it definitely has more potential. I definitely think this isn't the last we've seen of it.
And we did see overall a lot of Miraidon at 42%, but the Calor Shadow had a really good, comparing it to its day 1 usage, had a really good conversion rate, along with the Calyrex Ice and the Zamazenta, improving their percentages as well. Terapagos going from 8th to 7th, I feel, is a little interesting, but again, that's also driven by, like, I just, off the top of my head, I know a group that all 6 of them day 2'd with Terapagos, and that was just a unique way to play them on. Great way to play it. Koraidon, Kyogre, Lunala, like, we're just reshuffling this bottom here, and I feel like that's just where we're going to be at for a lot of these events. In my opinion, if you're planning on going to Worlds, or like you did qualify for Worlds, these are like the main 8 to pick from. Now, of course, you do have other options, like Zacian does work well. With some of these restricteds, we saw like Miraidon Zacian, Kyogre Zacian as options. Of course, that classic Swordfish. You have Ho-Oh pop up as well. Hell, you even had a Reshiram and a Giratina Origin day 2 at NAIC. Overall, I do think that this is, now as a vet player, I got to play for 2 generations. This is the most open a restricted format has really felt. It feels a lot more open than what Series 12, the Sword and Shield GS Cup, was. It's clearly a lot more open than 2016 or 2019, where in those formats there were maybe 5 restricteds that you would only pair with each other. I mean, of course I didn't go to this event, and if I went to this event, I probably would have played Miraidon plus one of the Trick Room setters, whether it was CIR or Lunala. But there's the voice in the back of my head saying, Angelo, you already went 2 for 2 with bringing Dialga plus Fake Tears to a GS Cup tournament and getting points. You could do 3 for 3. Come on, buddy. And, like, part of me is like, there's no way. And part of me is also thinking, like, yeah, like, with the amount of Heavy Slam Zama, Terra Fairy, Dialga Origin actually has a good matchup into CSR Zama. And as long as I just dodged Koraidon, I probably could go 5-3-6-2. Assuming I was actually practicing and not just like playing a few games every now and again. And I think that is like the nice thing where if you just have a lot of reps in this format and you know your restricteds, you can call the meta well, and you're able to play your pairings with purpose and not just slap 2 Pokemon together, you could make a decent-ish run. I'm not saying like bring Giratina Origin to Worlds, but you could play or diff it if you know everything else. And even some other choices, like we saw the stream match with the double bike duo and what's it called? The pepper Pokemon. Scoville. There we go. And it's like, it was ESM playing. I can't remember who he was playing against. And it's like his opponent just like didn't know what Spicy Extract did.
I think it was Alberto Lara.
It was Alberto, yeah. And it's Alberto, like they got him on mic saying, "Oh, that's what that move does. Let me take note of it."
Either. I was watching that live, and I was like immediately looking it up. Like, what does the move do?
And like that's like the creativity that you can get into. A lot of times people say like restricted formats are too focused. I feel like this is the opposite. This is like a really, really wide open format. Maybe you aren't able to use like the super, super, super niche Pokemon, but there's a lot you can do. And even looking at where some of the changes are at in just the movement in the day 2 for the non-restricted usage. Shenpao, the second most used Pokemon in the format for the non-restricteds in day 2. That's pretty sick.
I think that's honestly like still almost unbelievable. It's really close. It's like right on the border with the Moongus and Raging Bolt, but I definitely thought it was a really good team. On the team I was going to bring, I had Shenpao. But yeah, no, just really kind of crazy to see it spike up. It's definitely a good mon, and like it's a good answer into Miraidon. Miraidon does not like to see Ice Spinner. Shenpao are usually running the Focus Sash. So yeah, it can be pretty annoying sometimes for the Miraidons to play around.
One of my favorite trios, like non-restricted trios, not just in this format, but in a lot of formats. Junie and I have talked about this a lot. Like Shenpao plus Amoonguss plus one of the Paradox electric types, usually Iron Hand, but you could make it Raging Bolt. That trio just like feels fun to play. It's enjoyable. They do a lot together. They can help, like Shenpao loves the redirection. Iron Hands loves the damage boost it gets from the Shenpao. Amoonguss is just the ultimate Gloomon. And like the only thing that sucks is those 3. Actually, I think it was Maddie Morgan's team where it was Amoonguss, Shenpao, Iron Hands, Rory Moon, Zacian, Kyogre, and I'm like looking at the team like, wow, I'm in love with this team besides the restricteds.
Yeah, Zacian. But yeah, no, I think like Shenpao Amoonguss, I love that core. Because you can just Ice Spin or Spore on Miraidon teams, and they can't. I mean, unless they KO Amoonguss, like you're gonna get a Spore off.
Yeah.
It's like with Rillaboom, you can kind of get pinned or play mind games. Like if they lead Miraidon Urshifu, you can just like double pivot, and like you won't get your Spore off. Or sometimes like you might want to switch in Rillaboom to get it on Electric Train when the Miraidon's already off, and you want a Spore, and you'll be like, oh, I can do this or whatnot. But like Ice Spinner Spore will get off Ice Spinner Spore will put something to sleep as long as you get it off. So I think it's a great, and you get redirection. Like I think that combo is so good. Obviously, Incineroar is just busted. So yeah, I'm surprised to see it that high, but I think it's just a reflection of how strong Miraidon is.
two of the other interesting things in the bottom part of the day 2 usage for the top 12 non-restricted, Flutter Mane making it into the top 12. This is a Pokemon that, in the non-restricted formats where it was legal, was usually right near where Chien-Pao and Incineroar are, and the role that it's played on a lot of these teams, it's gone from this super powerful specs Pokemon, this is the offense, into more of a secondary or really tertiary offensive choice, and having more support, such as like the Thunder Wave, the Taunt, Icy Wind. And speaking of support, that's a Smeargle in 12.
Yeah. I don't have anything to say. I think it's crazy. I think we kind of mentioned it before with like the support Pokemon go crazy, and you can really kind of have some skill expression on your team. And Smeargle is kind of, there were so many like teams I'm trying to think of that, like, I think that Pogos team you were talking about had it. I know there were so mere good players. Like the Shilling Tang group, they had very different levels of success, but they were running Cali, Ice, Ogre, Kyogre, and they had a Smeargle on their team as well as a Mungus. So it's like another redirection. It's like double redirection, double spore. Kind of just crazy. And then there was a lot of really good players.
I believe a lot of
some Japanese, some American, etc. players. It was on a Zamazenta team with like Tornadus. I think it was it CSR? I think it was CSR.
So it was CSR Zama. It was CSR Zama, Torn, Smeargle, Raging Bolt, and God, I can't think of. I think maybe Chien as the 6th. Let me see.
I know like some really good Japanese players ran it. I think Aaron Trailer ran it. I was surprised like at the dichotomy, I don't know, of different players running that style of team. I'm like, I was very curious if like they worked together almost, or maybe someone saw it online and then like they were like, this is really good, and then took it or whatnot. I'm really curious to see, or he, or maybe never will, but like just so many different teams. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to see Smeargle in top 12, but I mean, I'm not surprised.
And you also like did get great results. Yuma Kinagawa, which we're going to, don't worry folks, we will be getting into the teams just shortly. He had it on the CSR Zama. Victor Medina had it in top 16 with the CSR Zama. Then at the Alex Gomez, had it with the Amoonguss, Kyogre, and CIR. And then the CSR Zama again with Hans Pizarro in top 32. And a lot of those teams, like it was like the CSR, the Zama, the Smeargle, Torn, in most cases Torn. And then you would have like a rotation of Raging Bolt, Rillaboom, like Incin Raging Bolt, Incin Rillaboom. Like they would like go through there. And just the overall idea of it is that decorate on all of those teams, pretty much anything that isn't the Zamazenta kind of likes being decorated with. I think it was Yuma actually. Yep, and we can once we get to it. But like Yuma ran Sharpbeak Tornadus to just make it a better prankster target. So it was just cool to see people use this Pokemon in that way. And I will also go and add that Fergraph did not make the graphic, but was technically top 12. It tied with Smeargle. Smeargle just won the coin flip to see who would be on the graphic or not. So, going there, well, this isn't fully in order. This is we're using the Top Cut Explorer developed by Stahlruth, because Lab Mouse hasn't been updated yet. And we're going to just dive into our champions team, Federico Camparisi. This is familiar, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we were kind of talking about, you mentioned earlier how like comfort goes a long way, and it was kind of stressed throughout the weekend that this is the team that he's been running all format. These are the same 6 that Luca Paz used to go, I believe, was undefeated in the Swiss at Milwaukee, and then ended up getting top 4 with a couple different item changes. And it's similar to the Milwaukee winning team, with a couple of changes as well.
That main change being the Whimsicott over the
Grimmsnarl. as well as the item on Incineroar being Assault Vest, where on the Milwaukee winning team, the AV was on Miraidon.
Yep.
But yeah, no, I think a lot of people just wrote this team off, and I think it was countered pretty hard. Like, honestly, for the team that I was bringing, and Keon brought it. I thought we had a really good matchup into this. Like, this is one of the teams I would say we had a really good matchup into because we had so much prep into it. But Keon played Federico round 1, day 2, and he said it was not close.
Yeah. And also, what's crazy, so I believe it was after one of his screen matches, I think it was the first round of the asymmetrical top cut, Fedi went and said that his peak at an IC before this weekend, was top 32. And he's like, yeah, I made top 16. I already have my Worlds invite, but like I want to see how much farther I can go because I was never able to do better than top 32 in an IC. And just took it all. And that and with a team that, as much of a known commodity as it was, I don't think anyone was picking, if they were picking the Miraidon Lunala, it was this new Scarf Miraidon plus the lefties Lunala, sometimes with the Rillaboom.
Yeah, the Combine version or whatnot. Yeah.
That we saw a lot more of in the past few weeks. This team, like ursaluna, had completely fallen off because of the rise of Rillaboom and just the rise of Mons that were being ran to counter it. So comfort is king in this format, first and foremost, and Fedi was insanely comfortable with this 6. Like, we all know what this team does, we all know how it runs, and it is still a team where if you pilot it well, you just handle everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in day 1, I might, if I recall it correctly, was Fedi on stream day 1?
I can't recall. Like, I watched...
maybe it was Marco, actually. Maybe it was Marco, but I think one of the two, I wish I remembered, said like they brought a team that they didn't even think could win the event. Or they weren't confident it could win. But yeah, I don't honestly feel like this team was being respected for this tournament. I feel like the meta had shifted enough where it's one of those things where, like, I feel like sometimes players almost feel like, oh, if they're not adapting or changing teams, like they're not trying almost. And almost it can be counterintuitive because like Fede was just like, I'm going to keep running this team. He got top 16 with it at Bologna, losing to Francesco Piopero in top cut there. And yeah, I mean, he just ran it back and won pretty decisively. Like, I think honestly it should have been a 2-0 victory in finals, but Marco got insanely lucky with a crit, which I thought was kind of I mean, I was like, oh, that's kind of karma because Fede beat Marco at Dortmund only because he really haxed him. I think he hit a hurricane in Sun, and the hurricane had to confuse the Pokemon and then get the confusion all in Sun, and Fede got that, and that's the only reason he won that, which was kind of crazy. So kind of like I was like, okay, that makes up for that hax. But in game 3, Fede just, I mean, he was in control the entire time, and Marco was playing to his outs. But I mean, Fede really didn't let him get back into the game. So
no, especially like game 3, like Marco being able to just, like Fede just being able to get 2 trick rooms up, and being able to just play that super slow game. I think that was absolutely massive for him.
Yeah, it was hype though, because like Marco was really playing to his outs, and he was getting some calls right, but like he had the Overpawn and Rillaboom both live the turn.
And when he had that, and I was like, okay, maybe the momentum can come back. But then he had the turn where it's like he wood hammered into the instant switch in and protected, and I'm like, and like literally,
I think Fede had such a free turn still.
Yeah,
just switching the Rillaboom and whatnot. I played Fede at LAIC this year, and I remember feeling like he kind of got the leads right, but I was making every single turn. I was like reading and making the right read, but his macro game was just like, he was like, you can make all these you can beat me on every like play turn by turn, but you're not going to win like the end game. And like, I remember like just feeling that the whole set, and I feel like that's how he played this. Like, I feel like that's how he plays like all of his games, where he's like, he has such a good idea of the grand scheme of how the set is going and the game itself is going, and like he does not let someone get back into the game. Like when he has a lead, he keeps it.
Yeah, it's like the whole thing. It's like, I'll let you win the battle, but I'm winning the war.
Yeah, and I feel like,
yeah. And one of the things, and this was one of the other storylines, I think, like the whole thing, like where what was it, Marco? It was Fedi, Marco, and Suri. They all were like in the same room. Like they had like they just roomed together. Like there was the meme. It's like what was it? It was like Luca Cherubelli between like Fedi and Marco tonight at the hotel room, and it was like the two parents fighting and the kid like in the corner. And I'm it's crazy that like you have literal roommate like hotel roommates just casually make finals together.
And one of the and like the one player we're not talking about in the finals is the reigning world champion.
Yes, and one of the other stories, like with Marco, so he already won LAIC, which was his third. He was gunning not only for his fourth IC overall, which I believe would be a record, or is a record.
Yeah, third is the record right now.
Yeah, third's the record.
Or he would have broken his own record.
But also, he would have been the first ever to win 2 in a season.
Yeah.
So,
and he's never won. He's won OCIC and then LAIC twice.
Yep, and he's never won NAIC.
Yeah, so it would have been really cool there. And yeah, I mean, you can't scoff at second place. And like another thing that's crazy is they're both part of like the same esport team. Like I don't know exactly how it works, but there's like Il Server, which is like the holy grail of esports teams, like with everyone. But there's also like Novo Esports, which is I think they're like in collaboration with or something. But basically, they're Marco and Fede are both on that Novo Esports. Like the two representatives also on Il Server playing each other, same bed. Just like it's so insane, honestly, how this kind of worked out. I mean, they'll probably never forget it. Like, who knows? But like,
no, this is like your dream is always to go in like you're going to play your bestie.
Yeah,
and so it's like at least like even if you lose, like your best friend won it and you got second. It's not like you got went down.
And it was definitely more exciting that it wasn't like a mirror, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's the thing where like you go with the team that won, that was, or at least the archetype that was very dominant the first regional, to the archetype that is what we all expected to be the dominant early archetype, Calyrex Shadow Zamazenta, which has really been having an unbelievable rise over the last few weeks. I feel like people are just figuring out the different ways to build it. It's not just taking a Reg-G Zama team and slapping on Calyrex Shadow, or a Reg-G CSR team is slapping on the Zamazenta. You're
Even
combining
that's exactly what Marco did, but
yeah, like that is what Marco did here. But like even then, it's like a lot of times you would see the Raging Bolt on more of like Zamazenta than the Calyrex. And like of course the Beige Bros here, they're always going to be together, or not always, but close enough. You're going to see that pivoting duo of Rillaboom Incin along with Ogerpon for the double grass, double fire, balanced trio. And again, this is just a team that works super well together. A lot of the pieces go well, they're complementary. You're really able to get the nasty plots off between the redirection and the double fake out. You're able to get these nasty plots off with your Calyrex Shadow, which are even more powerful since you have the Life Orb on it as well. I really like the Grassy Glide on the Ogerpon with the Rillaboom.
Me too.
The old Grassy Glide's neat. And of course, we have the Helping Hand Incineroar, because Incineroar needed more support moves in this generation.
Yeah, it passes the Riley Factura test too. There's nothing that can miss.
Nope.
So it kind of just lets you play your game. I love the Rilla Ogerpon with the Grassy Glide is like something I used a lot last season. And yeah, I think it's just really impressive. And like you always have to be like worried about it, because like if you lead Ogerpon and Rillaboom's not out there, like you can always just be in the back. Always just terrify or Grassy Glide, blow up Inertia or something like. You could, like, you saw Marco try to do like Oko even a Zamazenta on like low health with it yesterday. It's just like really cool team. Marco knows how to pilot this team, obviously insanely well. He's one of the best players, if not the best player in the world right now. And yeah, like there's nothing like crazy about this team. It's just like a really good team.
Yeah, like this is a solid 6 where I think you can continue to expect to see it do well into the World Championships because it's just good player plays good mons that are good together, and it's good.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you'll see some Terra changes, some moveset changes, maybe one of the slots changes, but I think you can say, like, this is a very set way of playing Calyrex Shadows on Azenta, but it's also not the only way to play this archetype, as we already discussed, and we'll go and see. Going into Kazuki Kobayashi, this was also a really fun story of the weekend. Kazuki missed qualifying via Japan, flies out to North America for a last shot, had to top 4 the event, boom, did it, done. The only thing that sucks is that he had to play an awful best of 1 closed team sheet format for the entire year, only to then fly across an ocean to like have a shot. He probably wishes he got this top 4 like 3 or 4 months ago if he was able to.
Yeah, no, it was a really cool storyline. Obviously, he's a really well-known, really good player. I think I want to say he got was top 4 World 2019.
Yeah,
right.
Yep, and then top 128 and 22.
Yeah, and I thought this team was super cool. Just like this, I think Scar First for Graph is just a really cool mode, and like he won his top 8 set, really kind of abusing that and like just position himself like to get the perfect win con, and like it was a really cool duo. I think kind of all the mons together, and like yeah, I mean it's awesome that he was able to make it. He's the second Japanese player to qualify via this method this season.
Yep.
Another one at EUIC do it. Neither of them ended up making it past top 4.
That's all they needed, though.
That's all they needed, but it's one of those things you are there to win at the same time.
Oh,
when you get
absolutely.
top 4, you want to win, but like I think it's almost just like making top 4 this way as a Japanese player is like such. I mean, I'm not in their head, so like who knows? But like in my mind, I'm just be like, oh my god, I just did this, and it's like I feel like it'd be hard to focus honestly on top 4.
Oh yeah, no, it was. I wish I could remember the player's name, but when the what like the most hype I've ever seen anyone win any matchup has been when the Japanese player at UIC won their top 8 match. Because again, the joy of knowing that you do not need to play in multiple grand challenges to try to qualify for for Japan Nats, which at least through Swiss is also another closed sheet best of 1 format. Like, yeah, I'd be hyped too if I didn't have to play in those anymore. And I think that's like the big thing that I think, like, or at least for Kobayashi, was I came here to qualify for Worlds, I did it. And yeah, like you're like once you do that, you're pretty set. The team itself, like these are just all mons that are really nice together. The Urshifu, Farig, Miraidon is a little reminiscent of like different pieces of the Miraidon teams that we would see in Regulation G. Calyrex Ice has been one of the best partners for Miraidon, and like this Terra Bug AV Incineroar just feels like a very omnipresent part of the metagame at this point. And Landorus is playing a great role by being a ground type that doesn't suck, which is something that the format overall is sorely lacking. Especially when you look at the number of like the fact that in Ursaluna decrease in usage, there weren't, and Groudon sucks. Like, we needed a ground type that was good and can do damage, and that's what Landorus is doing.
Yeah, AV Instant is so cool right now, especially with the Terra Bug, because obviously CSR Zama is so present, and I mean, CSR is not doing anything into Incineroar.
No.
That's why it's like when you were watching the finals of NAIC, when Fede had AV Instant at full health in the back, it was like
it was so over.
It was like Rillaboom, Fire Pawn, CSR. It's like I don't think these mons are ever getting through this Instant.
No.
Even if like every single move that Marco had like crit for the rest of the set, like it was not getting through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it's really cool. And I think everything about this team is just like really good Pokemon. Really good Pokemon.
No, this like I'm going to be quite honest. I was saying like if maybe not especially like the lefty set specifically for the CIR. Definitely, like this probably would have been a 6 that hit my builder at some point. Whether or not I would have went through with it, who can say? But like this is something I probably would have looked at going into Worlds. Not Worlds. NIC.
Yeah, I could definitely see
537.
like that usage of that, like that 6 pickup.
Yeah. What we have here, this is Eric Rios, the only non-Japanese or Italian player to make top 4. Eric went with the Zamazenta Miraidon, which again, something that we were just talking about earlier on. And I think the coolest part, well, actually, there's a lot of cool parts of this team. First off, we have the Ogerpon Teal Mask with the Covert Cloak, no redirection. It's Taunt Encore on it, which I think is really, really hype. And then you also have the Electric Seed on the Volcarona, where like once you get a Quiver Dance up, you're +1 speed, +1 defense, +1 special defense, +1 special attack. And now with the Terra Grass, you can use Giga Drain really well, get some health back, and you can also use Fiery Dance, potentially roll at getting even more special attack boosts. This is a really, really cool team, and as you were insinuating earlier, like the Volcarona especially was able to just take over a lot of games and honestly be the actual restricted compared to the Miraidon and the Zamazenta.
Yeah, there's really something cool about almost every single mon on this team, even if it's small. The Volcarona, like you're mentioning, though, it benefits from the Miraidon and the Rillaboom, which is like something. It's been picking up a little bit, but it's also one of those things like you think on paper, incredible anti-synergy, but something that's really cool is the terrain doesn't last forever, and so when you switch in your Miraidon and Rillaboom consistently for each other, you're making sure you always have the terrain you want up. And Rillaboom is such a good mon where it's like, why shouldn't my Miraidon team have this other awesome grass type? And Volcarona takes advantage of both those terrains so well. It wants to heal up from grassy terrain. It wants to like increase its damage output with the Giga Drain and Terra Grass, and then it has the Electric Seed for Miraidon. It's such a cool mon, and we've seen so many different kind of sets for the Volcarona. This one going with the QD Quiver Dance set, and as opposed to like a Rage Powder, more supportive set. And yeah, just so cool. The Ogerpon, I don't know. He said it's kind of like, I think it kind of like fit this team. I don't think Ogerpon's going to be I think it's a niche pick, which is one of those things where like you can afford that in this double restricted format we're in right now. Really interesting. Obviously, like it's another form of speed control, where you can get that like choice scarf whenever you want it. Basically kind of speed. And yeah, this is just a really cool team.
Yeah. I'm always impressed by any team that runs, and any player who confidently and successfully runs double terrain. I cannot. I'm very bad at it. Like trying to run it in Sword and Shield, trying to run Tapu Fini and Rillaboom on the same team. I always just somehow had the wrong terrain up at the wrong time. So whenever I see anyone do this successfully, like kudos to you. Like that's just really cool. Going into our top 8, this is Francisco Piopero, who
finally,
yes, we've had a long night. There's a lot to talk about.
No, that's an inside joke that some people will get. Don't worry about it.
Oh, you know what? I'll talk to them. I think probably a few people I know, and I'll ask them after.
Yeah.
This is the team that we were seeing, this new iteration of the Terapagos with Iron Shreds and Sinistra, along with Miraidon, instead of like CSR. We've talked about this a lot, I believe, when we were doing our Bologna coverage, because this is the first time we saw it. Again, maybe you will remember, I couldn't remember why the Iron Shreds needs to be choice banned. I know it's missing a KO on something with high horsepower, and I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, you definitely need it for like if you want any chance to like Oko and Iron Hands.
That's like, what it was. Okay. For some reason I thought it was Miraidon, and we were doing the calcs, and we're like, no, that's not right. So yeah, there we go.
See? Yeah, New England local Grant Laird.
Yep.
learned that the hard way in
Yes,
top 8 WIC. Or
yes.
still. But yeah, no. Yeah, this team in general, I mean, I'm not a Pagos believer. Francesco Piopero is the biggest Tropicos believer in the world, like to an insane extent where like he sees anyone like dis Tropicos online, he'll like step in and protect it. Yeah, it's like a weird team. I think this is the team that Marco used at Bologna actually. Went
Yep.
5-3, so obviously didn't feel it. But yeah, I think Pio Perro is kind of like the Pagos guy and is just able to pilot it so well. And there's like obviously just so many cool things about this. Like, yeah, you kind of think there's anti-synergy when you like you have terrain, but you have Pagos, but like you can easily just volt switch out and get it back up later when you want it. You get that +1 off the bat. One of Pagos' like things it hates the most is a close combat. You can't get out of a close combat hit like with your Terra because you have Terra Stellar. So getting that +1 is so big. Improves the longevity, and you also have the Sinistra to get some health back up when they're normally leftovers. So yeah, cool team. But I don't love it personally in terms of like my own personal play style. I'm not a Pagos believer. I think Pagos is like if you want to make Pagos your identity, you can do well with it.
Yeah, I think so when Pagos got, because I love turtles and I love Pagos in terms of like the Pokemon itself. And like the idea of like playing a balance game, setting up, it's cool, it's fun. As viewers know, a lot of my building group and everything, especially in like Regulation F, Regulation H, it was all Incin plus Redirector plus Setup Mon, just go like play that game. And in those formats it works. In these restricted formats where the just base power level of everything around you is so much higher, for you to have to take like a turn or two to position the Pagos, get the Calm Mind up, make sure you get the terrain so you get your electric seed off, and even once you get those boosts, you really aren't doing as much damage as compared to say like a boosted Calyrex. And like that's the thing. And then of course when you have, and right next to it, Miraidon, which has this like stupid funny button called Electro Drift that just deletes shit. It's 100 power, 100 accuracy, Hadron Engine boost, Hadron Engine, terrain boost. You can Terra Electric. You can throw so many multipliers on this thing and immediately just press go. While like Terapagos, not to make the turtle meme, but to make a not exact turtle meme, he's rock. The episode of SpongeBob when like they all did the snail racing and Patrick had a rock, and it's like it's okay, take your time. That's what running Terapagos is like, and
that's
sometimes
that's such a great way to explain it. Yeah,
and
but it won in the end. The Rock won.
The Rock won, but like sometimes here's the thing: in snail races, you can't crit the Rock. And in Pokemon, when you're playing a game that long, you will get crit. And it happened at Bologna. Was it like a top 8 match where the game was pretty much won as long as the Miraidon didn't crit, and it immediately crit. And it's like, well, that's the game you play. You want to do?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, like you want to play a 15 turn game. Like it's going to happen. You're opening yourself up to more variants.
Yeah, and like Thunderwave.
Yeah,
if that Pagos gets Thunderwaved in a 20-turn game, you're gonna 15-turn game, whatever, 10-turn game, you're gonna get parried.
Yep, and it's just like you just open yourself up to variants, which in a lower power format you have more opportunities to play for variants because most of your opponent's Pokemon don't have, along with the variant things, a like nuclear warhead that can just go at any moment. They will have to play at the same pace as you. You're just playing a step or two behind everyone else at all times, and that's the thing that is a little meh for this team. Mm-hmm. Maybe we're just haters and we look back at this at Worlds and someone figured Terapagos out for Worlds. Probably not, but who can say?
Right.
Yeah, going on to our next Japanese player, and this is the Smeargle team we're talking about, Yuma Kinagawa, who already had their Worlds invite, but just wanted money, and got a lot of it by finishing in top 8. Also, just for the Japanese players, they don't get a lot of this high-end best-of-3 practice for Worlds, which is probably why you saw a lot of them at NAIC, because, like, this is the last shot of really good best-of-3 practice that isn't Victory Road or a Limitless event before Worlds. So we already talked about the Smeargle, the Decorate, and pretty much everything here likes Decorate. The Zama, not so much, but like even then, it's like +4 Heavy Slam's going to do something, right?
Yeah.
I think the big thing outside of the Smeargle that I like, that again was already mentioned, is the Sharp Beak on the Tornadus.
Yeah, that's really cool tech. Will you have the protect so you can kind of always stall it out? No weather. Torn is like, I mean, you don't really need weather on this team, and you can kind of like get hitting a bleak. It kind of lets you put less invest in your special attack while also probably picking up KOs. Like I'm sure they're picking up Scarf, Urshifu and whatnot, and like I'm sure it makes the rolls on Rillaboom like to always 2-hit KO like perfect probably. It's really cool. A lot of top players were running Sharp Beak. And yeah, I think that was a really cool adaptation. And this team in general, like I think we're gonna see a lot more of it. It looked it really dominated this tournament.
Yeah, every single time I saw like this 6, it just felt really oppressive.
Yeah.
One of the nice things that they brought up on stream about Tornadus, or just flying type stab in general, specifically for Tornadus, there isn't a lot of flying type stab in the format. And really, outside of Raging Bolt and Miraidon, it's like a neutral hit into pretty much everything else.
Yeah.
And you're hitting super effective into these grass types. Like the Rillaboom doesn't like it. Your Amoonguses, the Urshifus. You have, of course, Volcarona, which really had a great weekend. Volcarona doesn't like eating a Bleak Windstorm. So a lot of Pokemon that have been gaining in usage not only are neutral to it, but are actually weak to it. And you can get into a position where, like, a +2, +4, like, Decorate boosted Tornadus with Bleak Windstorm is actually, like, the most threatening Pokemon towards your opponent's team. So I just think that's, like, a really, really cool way to go at the meta by making your support Pokemon also, like, a powerful damage dealer that is pretty much neutral into everything in the format.
Mm-hmm.
Any other notes on this? Or do you want to move on?
No, I don't have any other notes. Really cool team. Terra Grass on the Zama, I think is a good Terra for it. Really annoying Terra for a lot of different teams, and yeah, no, that team is like looks like a nightmare to play against.
Yeah. And again, relatively like actually, this team has one of the trios that we were talking about: the Raging Bolt, Chien-Pao, Amoonguss, to go with Calyrex Shadow and Zamazenta. This is like the Amoonguss Chien-Pao just is really, really great together. Along with the Rillaboom to just give terrain support, be a fake out Mon. The Rillaboom and the Rillaboom and the Raging Bolt and Chien-Pao really disrupt opposing Miraidon. The one thing I don't like about this team is, personally, I like the Life Orb on Calyrex and the Sash on Chien-Pao. That's just something like the Life Orb Chien-Pao has just never felt great for me. And that would be like the only critique I would have. Ruben, of course, also went and finished top 8 at NAIC, so to him, my opinion is probably meaningless.
Yeah, I think you don't really. I think Chien-Pao, Life Orb, when you start to play against it, you realize like how insane it actually gets. And then you have the Stellar boost, and it's like one of those things like this Mon's ability, its Terra, and its item are all adding multipliers now. On like this Sucker Punch, and like it can be a nightmare to play against. Like I would rather actually play Sash Pow and like Life Orb Cali personally. Like I'd rather see that than this. And I think this team, I really don't have anything to say about it other than that. Like Ruben, he won Bologna last year with CSR balance. He got second this year at Bologna with CSR balance, and he top cut Worlds with CSR balance. So he knows how to play CSR balance, and yeah, I mean, I have nothing to say. He's like another insane Italian player, and yeah, like awesome team, awesome performance, and he is like proved.
Yeah,
Like,
very much so.
yeah, yeah.
One other thing with you bringing up like all the Italians who did well. So Esther, who runs a lot of the bots on Littleroot Lesson server, so she another Italian player herself, and someone's like, "Oh, it's like Betty and Marco flew across the ocean to play an Italian local," and she responded, "No, the Italian locals are more competitive than this because there's more Italians," and that's kind of what it felt like.
Yeah.
Someone who's, and of course Gabriel Legatti. Gatti's not. Is it? No, Gatti's not Italian. Is he?
No, he's Brazilian.
No, Brazilian. Jesus, it's bad that I mix them up and thought of a joke that Carl would have to cut out, so I'm not going to make that one. Anyways, this is the Calyrex Shadow Koraidon team, the only one that really spiked the event well, and I think there's actually a lot of sauce on this team the more I look at it.
Oh yeah, this team's insane.
Yeah.
It has like that AV Incin that's crazy, going with the Terra Fairy, which is just like kind of a preference thing. The Wellspring. So annoying for so many different teams to deal with. The Screamtail, amazing synergy. I think the Spooky Plate is really cool. On the CSR, like it's kind of there's no life orb on this team, so I'm curious about the decision. But I mean, I guess you're recovering with the Leech Seed and the substitute, so I definitely get why he went with that over the life orb. And yeah, like just so many cool things, so much cool synergy. Yeah, this team's crazy.
Yeah. I think the reason why you're going with the Spooky Plate, not only to have the power of God and anime on your side, but to have that, like, you're playing the Leech Seed sub. This is probably a really, really bulky Calyrex Shadow that is, like, maybe not pick up kills immediately, but your other Pokemon are, like, peppering down your opponent, so that one Astral Barrage, and of course the Leech Seed, gets into position where that one Astral Barrage goes off. You get the double KO. Your as one Grimday gets you at +2, and you go from there. And since you are only running Ghost coverage, you can afford just running the Spooky Plate, and maybe you're missing the extra 10% boost, but you're also keeping more of your HP, which is probably more important for a mon that wants to stay bulky.
Yeah, on this set especially, like, yeah, the life orb kind of doesn't make sense, especially with how bulky you probably are.
If anything, I think you could argue maybe going like life orb on the Koraidon instead to just have more of an immediate game plan and immediate offense, because like the Ogre Pond, especially if you're bringing your Koraidon does have that anti-synergy with the Ogre Pond Wellspring. The Incineroars, the Assault Vest ones are a little more offensive in some cases, and of course you do have the Sun, but still it's not your premier offensive threat. And a lot of these Flutter mains, even with the Stellar Terra, isn't doing a ton of damage. Mostly because a lot of pretty much Flutter main now is pretty much solely running itself as a booster speed mon instead of the booster special attack. So your damage output in general is always going to be mitigated because you're not maximizing that investment to make sure you get the speed boost.
Yeah, I think the Clear Amulet honestly works on this team. I remember watching one of the sets. I don't remember the exact board state, but I remember thinking, Clear Amulet really helped in like this spot. And with the way that this team kind of looks and like the play style, but I think the Clear Amulet definitely makes sense. Versus the Life Orb, and like he probably didn't want to have to switch it out. He didn't want to get Intimidate cycled, and like it seems more of like there are different the modes of this team look like it would benefit in the long term more from Clear Amulet, and I mean that's the choice he went with, and I'm sure he had his reasons that were
definitely has his reasons, and didn't like, I don't think he regrets it. It was just like a thought, like if you were going to be putting like the life orb, maybe find that other thing. And that is our top 8. As you noticed, with us going through the top 8, no Americans, which is pretty crazy. And I think I know we're running really long, but just to like go over like a handful of American players that are near and dear to our hearts. I do want to first shout out Justin Knox for running for the first time all season, just running a normal team and just immediately spiking and having the best result of his season. This is just this is like the CSR. I'm sorry, the Miraidon Lunala team that we were talking about that we saw a lot more of last week with this Choice Scarf and the Leftovers, Grimmsnarl, and then a Firewater Grass trio of Incineroar, Ogerpon. This is just a really, really consistent team. You get your screens up, you set your Lunala up with the redirection, the double fake out. Miraidon can act as damage mitigation, or again, just like a really fast nuke button with the Electro Drift or the Draco Meteor. And you're able to like play to this end game where the Lunala just feels unkillable and has enough boost to where it's able to pick your opponent off one by one.
Yeah, this was kind of the Lunala team that I think more people expected to play.
Yep.
Going to this event, a lot of cool mons. I think the Wellspring he kind of talked about a lot. That was kind of his. I don't know if it was his MVP, but really patched a lot of the hard matchups. Justin Knox, the top placing American at NAIC, the top placing American at Worlds last year, but he will not be at Worlds 2025, unfortunately, because he needed the top 4 invite. Because, like you said, he didn't have the. I think this might have been his first day 2 all year.
This was,
which he really struggled this season.
Yeah,
like you said, he ran like more of a standard team and popped off. Obviously,
yeah. I think the big thing that we're learning with Justin Knox is that he's just an international merchant. He should not go to any regionals. He should just go to only like LAIC, EUIC, and NAIC, nothing else, because I believe he said it's like this is his 3rd straight IC day 2, and his 2nd top cut at an IC in the last 3 years. Yeah. So like in the NAIC, or these more international tournaments, he does insanely well. And it is a shame that we won't be able to see him at Worlds, because if he did make it, I would expect him to put up another great showing like he did last year. Secondly, one of his close team building partners, our boy Wonder, who honestly, this like Zach cutting and getting top 32 felt like, like Robin deciding like he's not Robin anymore, he's Nightwing. Like that's what I keep on calling our boy Wonder. No, he's just a damn good player. And
yeah, I absolutely love Zachary Weed. I was rooting for him, obviously, in Top Cut. I really, really wanted him to win, but last year he started 6-0 at NAIC and went to 6-3 just missing day 2, which was heartbreaking. Obviously, he already has World's Invite locked, but I talked to him a lot going into this event, and he seemed, he didn't have much pressure on himself. Obviously, he had his World's Invite locked already. He wasn't super nervous for the event. He said he didn't get the best practice for the event, but I think, this team's really cracked. He worked with June a little bit on it, I believe. And like the pieces of the team just work so well together. I was talking to him and June about it a lot yesterday, just because I was really curious. And like the Sash Ursh is something we haven't seen too much recently, but is really cool. But yeah, I'm speechless. I'm so happy for Zach. He had a rough, season, but then he just top cut 2 events in a row in Red Guy, which is the Worlds format, which is the format that you want to be the best at. So he is just crazy. I think I'm expecting him to do really well at Worlds. I'm excited to prep for Worlds with him and have him as a friend. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about Zach. One of the most like level-headed, mature, like just nice people I've met.
Yeah.
Playing the game.
And I think like one of the things is this is, again, maybe not specifically playing the exact same archetype, but he worked with Grant Laird on the Screens Miraidon team in Regulation G that Grant used to top 8. And this is just something like Zach's just been working with Miraidon, Iron Hands, Urshifu, Farigiraf, like a lot of these Pokemon just consistently over the last 6 months. And it's just understanding, like, I think June put it best, having it be like a Miraidon team, capital M, capital T, to just be like a Miraidon team, like, a team that just has Miraidon on it. But you still have those very familiar pieces to go with, where you can just go back in your just space of games played, and just understand like this is how these Pokemon are supposed to work. This is how they work together. And if I'm ever like see something new or I'm caught off guard, I at least have some muscle memory to figure out what I'm supposed to do. And of course, like when you're taking monsters you're already familiar with, you're putting in Volcarona, which is again a Pokemon in a really great spot in this format, and a Broken Horse. You're going to work. It's going to work out for you.
Yeah, and I think we've actually seen Farigiraf drop on Miraidon teams with this regulation, but I think it worked so well here, and we were really seeing the value of that ability, Armor Tail, blocking other priority moves, and yeah, this team was just crazy. This was Zach's first IC day 2, first IC top cut, and yeah, like such a great performance, and this is a really, really cool team. And I think, yeah, the Sash Ursh was like something really cool too, because you're always going to guarantee that you're going to get some value out of your Ursh. It's not going to go blown up unless 2 things, target it before it can move. And in that case, you're most likely getting off a lot of value with your other mod. So,
yep.
Yeah, really cool team, amazing performance. I think he missed a high horsepower in top 32 in a game-winning position to miss out on top 16, which it happens. But yeah, no, he's such an incredible player. So really, really good run from Zach.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see how well he does at Worlds. And another New England player who top 32.
Oh, but before we move on, he was the third. We had a New England player top cut all 3 ICs. We had Dan Reyes get top 8 at LAIC. We had Grant Laird at UIC, and now we have Zach Weed at NAIC. So I have no clue if any other region can say that, but our region had top cut at every single IC this year, which is really cool.
The only thing I could think of is like maybe like Tri-State or NorCal, but who cares about them? It's
exactly.
New England supremacy.
Did New York?
Maybe I can't remember the exact thing, but like I'm just guessing like any other region that could do it, it would be probably them. But also, this is a New England pod right now.
Exactly. We don't need to talk about them. And I don't know. I don't think New York cut this one. Did Chuppa? No, Chuppa didn't cut. Tim Edwards actually is New York, so yeah. Yep. And then Joe Ugarte is New York. He cut UIC. Did anyone from New York cut LAIC? Do we care enough to look?
I actually am now doing that. Okay. We're going to our friends in Lab Mouse. Shout out Tim for being awesome.
Not Ashton, not Kylan is Canadian. Where's Len Duel from?
I don't know where Len's from.
Yeah, Len's not from New York, I don't think. Brady Smith is from Florida. Justin Tang is like DC area. Yep. Yuki Zananovich, he I think lives in New York now. Maybe you can count him.
Okay, so you can maybe count him for that, but for the bit, suck it, Mets. We did.
Yeah, just suck it. New York, New England wins.
Yeah. Speaking New England, and this one I very happy, very sad.
Yeah.
Nishant Joshi missing out on their what would have been their first top cut of the season. Actually, might be first top cut ever. This was also their furthest just IC run. I still remember 2 years ago when Nishant needed top 128 to lock in their Worlds invite, and they missed it by 1 game. They went 6-3, they needed the 7-2, and it was literally just in one of our servers together. I think their username is still cried at NAIC. It was heartbreaking. So I actually have a quote from Nishant. I texted them after they started 6-0. How does it feel to be this talented? And the response was, shiny hunting for a week really paid off, huh? So, no ladder play, just shiny hunting.
Sean went to Santiago, too, which is kind of cool, like just traveling. I don't think they made day 2 there, but
they did not
finish off. Not going 9-3 at ICs this big are kind of crazy because you can get top 32 and get 200 CP and $2,000. You can go top 64, get no money, 150 CP, or you can go top 128 and get 120 CP. Yeah. So not many 9-3s get the top 32, and he, I believe, was the top 9-3 player based
Yep.
on res. So it does suck that they weren't able to get Top Cut, but at the same time, they are $2,000 richer, and I mean, I think Nishant needed.
The shot needed to, I asked them, I was like, hey, does top 8 get it? And they're like, nah, I suck this year. I need
Yeah,
the
I
top
think they
4.
needed top 4, but I mean, such an insane accomplishment to
Yeah.
top 32 at a tournament of this size, and I mean, I wouldn't be sad if I won $2,000 in an event. So.
No, they I talked to them after. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry I didn't top cut. They're like, what do you mean? This was great. I had so much
Yeah,
fun. Like,
yeah.
they were like, this is literally just like a dream that I'm playing this well. And yeah,
They didn't
Nishant,
play Zach Weed, which was sad, but they beat Zach.
they did
Actually.
beat Zach. I think Zach was sadly like their last, like they beat Zach to go 9-1,
Like,
and then
yeah, that would have been the win.
and
Yeah,
then lost to Bizad, and then I believe it was against a Japanese. No, it was against an Italian. In round 12.
yeah,
Going through this team again, a lot of these different pieces. We're seeing the Frigoraph and the Iron Hands with this Miraidon and Calyrex again, and the other two pieces. The Iron Treads just does a ton of damage with Choice Band. It's super speedy on the with the Hadron engine, setting up its Quark Drive. Back to the idea with the Landorus, we want ground types that don't suck, and Iron Treads is like pushing it. If you squint a little, it doesn't suck, and at least on this team, it doesn't suck. And Incineroar. This one, since the Assault Vest is on the Iron Hands, going with the classic Rocky Helmet with the Will-O-Wisp to try to mitigate a lot of the physical damage coming out, along with the Intimidate. And then, of course, the Parting Shot, Fake Out, and Knock Off that are the staples of this Pokemon in this format. What is a little sad is that I believe Chalky and Gabby also ran this 6. That's who Nishant developed the team with, and they sadly did not do as well as Nishant. I actually think Nishant had as many wins as Chalky and Gabby combined.
I think more.
Yeah, you're right. I actually do think more, but this was just a really cool team. It was just this is just I just feel really great for my friend to honestly struggle this season and to at least be able to end it off on a high note. I know not to make it about me, but I also had a really crap season, and I was able to get second place at a small cup on my last day, and I'm like, wow, this feels great. Okay, I'm not completely washed. I can still do this. And I think that's the shot thinking the same thing as well probably was. Wait, I'm still pretty good at this game.
Yeah, 9-3 at an IC is insane, and they had an insane schedule. So I don't think anyone in any reality can argue that Nishant is not an incredible player after this performance.
And also just an incredible person. One of my closest friends playing this game. One of my longest, oldest friends play this game. And just always hyped to watch the homies succeed.
Yeah, I don't know them as well as you, but I'm very friendly with them whenever we see each other at events, and we got dinner at EUIC this year and hung out a little bit, and just so nice. So I'm really happy for them.
Yeah, the one thing that sucked, because I was in New York for work on Wednesday, and I can't remember. I think they were already out, and it was one of the things where it's I was in the city when they weren't, and they're like, I'm getting back, and I'm like, buddy, I'm already home. They don't pay for hotels for me. I'm on the last train back. But yeah, again, this was just a really cool event. There's a ton of other teams we could talk about, and we have a lot of other time to talk about those teams, because there's nothing else until Worlds.
Yeah.
So, one of the things to note, we did record after Masters. So juniors and seniors finals occurred, and the announcements that I glanced at on my phone, they showed off some of the merch stuff and the designs.
Yeah, they showed off the welcome kit this year, which last year we didn't see the welcome kit until we got them. So now we got them way in advance.
So that's cool.
That is cool. I kind of liked being surprised last year. I'm also very impatient and excited to see it. I'm sad that we're not getting a Switch case, because they had a Switch case for, I kind of get it, because the Switch 2 just came out and it's kind of like a weird period. So like which kind of case would they do? But 2022, 2023, they came out with really cool Switch cases. And I've qualified now for Worlds for 2 years in a row where they didn't get Switch cases.
And no special Switch case.
Yeah, so there's nothing in the competitor kit for VG players, which is a little sad. But
I mean, that's honestly, it's just par for the course at this point.
But the competitor kit is always sick. And they showed off like some of the like a new Pikachu card, and looks like they had like an art reveal for the Pokemon Center pop-up store. Doesn't look like they mentioned where NAIC is going to be next year.
I want to say I saw like something where New Orleans was re-upped 2 years in a row. So like this year and next year.
Too. So, I don't know if it's officially confirmed. I would guess that we're going to get like this. I would assume this month, if not like very early next month, we're going to get like the first batch of regionals locations / they'll tell us where all the ICs are and whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're going to be Sao Paulo, London, and New Orleans, but I'm I'm excited to see how what the circuit looks like for next year. I think NAIC this year was just so much fun to follow from home. I wish I was there, but
same.
It was really cool. We had a lot of friends do well. Some heartbreak. I'm
still
from
sad.
A lot of people. Like, I mean, we can like get into there's so many individual storylines. Like Keon had to be one of his good friends, someone I'm friends with, to make day 2, and then that person ended up being the next player, the only like the first person not to make it. So
and that's
I'm very sad. Yeah, I'm very sad they won't be at Worlds. But like just so many crazy storylines. So many players that like needed. There was a player that they needed top 512 to make Worlds. They finished 513th. There was a lot of other storylines of just like people not getting the Worlds invites, and then there's some where people did.
And I think like that's
being a little lower than people thought. Most people were thinking it was gonna be like 960 something. Like the high was like 980. People were saying, but it ended up being 947 because there are a lot of people that like could have pushed the bar further up that didn't.
Yeah, I think that's the thing where when you look at the North Americans that did do well in Top Cut, or at least like top 32, they were either A, not in the running as well, so their points didn't matter, Justin Knox and Nishant, for example, or B, like Zach Weed, where it's just like a point sink because he already had over 1,000 points, and now it's like, congrats, you're at 1,000, you're at 1,300, you're still in the top 75, you're not changing any math. So there wasn't like just throwing names out there of like people on a bubble, like if a Jody Azzarelli, Matt Bruno, like one of these guys who were on the outside, like that really push it up, like, or
you
like
really just need to pass like the bottom person though to move it up. Like if like that one player had gotten 512, the bar would have ended up being like whatever above 947 was. So like maybe 950 would have been the bar.
Yep.
And like it would have just kept snowballing there. So like once you get into the top 75, where you place doesn't really matter. All it really matters is like if you leapfrog at the bottom. Which just didn't happen as much as some people like expected it to. So
yeah.
And overall, also we were like, oh, maybe we'll get 4 auto invites because it's our home region. We'll get some auto invites. We had so there was 12. I'm gonna quiz you. There was 12 auto invites given at ICs this year. How many of those do you think mattered for NA?
How many mattered for NA?
Yeah.
Well, I know Wolfe Glick got one,
but he'd already won Toronto, so it didn't matter.
Okay, it was Ashton Cox.
Yeah, and it was just Ashton Cox.
Okay, so I was going to be like, I don't know any other American that did well.
No, it was just, that was literally the only one that mattered for us. So we had 12 chances to like get more players at Worlds, and we didn't.
Yeah.
And so
Yep. No.
And Ashton wasn't even in the top 75.
No.
He would have been. He like obviously could have, but like he didn't play as much this year, and like had his invite. So
yeah, I believe like he said like EUIC was his first or second event. Was it UIC or was it LAIC?
It was LAIC where
LAIC,
he got
it was LAIC was his first event. He just got the top 4. He's like, oh, cool. And like that is like the benefit of it, where someone like Ashton, like didn't really have to, like, you're locked in. You didn't have to push, which is like a benefit of doing well at these majors, winning these events, top 4 at these ICs.
Yeah.
In this format is like, you're good. You're not you're showing up for vibes and like good practice.
100%.
Yeah. So, I think I will say next week we're gonna have Carl should be home next week, and we might have some other guests who are at NAIC, friends of the pod, to give like an NAIC war story, and we'll just be covering any changes that come up and this road to Worlds. Chase, where can the viewers find you, and do you have any other last words for our viewers?
My fun name that you can find me at is Maine Marshtomp on social media.
Maine like the state.
Maine like the state, Marshtomp like the best Pokemon. And yeah, no, nothing to say. I'm excited for the season. It was a really exciting season. It went by insanely quickly. NAIC was super fun to follow. Yeah, thank you again for having me on the pod. I had a really good time. I could yap about Pokemon forever. We probably yapped. It felt like for like, I don't know. We yapped for like 20 minutes before we started the pod.
Yeah, no, it's been
a
solid
at some point. Yeah, we're gonna talk about everything twice if we don't. But yeah, no, great season, lots of storylines. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the pod.
Of course, thank you for hopping in. I wouldn't say last minute. I gave you like a 2-day notice, but relatively last-ish minute. And of course, again, you can find Chase on all the socials at Maine Marshtomp. You can find our hosts all on Blue Sky. Carl at Musical. You have Carter at Mr. Missouri 25, and myself, Rose Tinted Cheeks. You can also follow the podcast itself at Littleroot Lessons on Blue Sky. Get all of these videos that we do, our weekly podcasts. Carter is currently in the process of still writing his script for his Blue Kaizo victory. All of those videos are found on our YouTube page at Littleroot Lessons, and the podcast itself is found in all of your podcatchers, such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any of the other ones that you like to use personally. If you're interested in getting to know anyone else in the community, talking about your time at NAIC, prepping for Worlds and such, you can join us on our Discord at Littleroot Lessons as well, which is down in the show notes. Thank you very much, and have a great week, everyone. Oh yeah, also, wait, before we go, happy Father's Day to Carl and Dad. We're recording on Father's Day. Should have let off on that. Got really excited because of Pokemon. Happy Father's Day. Now we're good. Bye.